In the sleepy town of Oak Ridge, where everyone knew everyone's business but pretended not to, the Rusty Mug Diner was the heart of Main Street. It was a place where truckers stopped for coffee, farmers gossiped over pie, and locals nursed hangovers with greasy breakfasts. On a crisp autumn morning, the roar of a dozen Harleys shattered the quiet as the Thunder Hawks Biker Club pulled into the gravel lot. Leading them was Jax Harlan, a towering figure with a shaved head, arms covered in tattoos, and a reputation that made mothers lock their doors when his gang rode through. Jax was no stranger to trouble. He'd done time years ago for bar fights and petty theft, but now he ran the Thunder Hawks with an iron fist, protecting their territory, running a mechanic shop, and keeping the peace in their own rough way. The townsfolk feared them, whispering about drug runs and brawls, though the truth was tamer. They mostly fixed bikes, drank beer, and rode the open road. Inside the diner, Sarah Jenkins moved between tables with practiced efficiency. At 28, she was pretty in a worn-out way, long brown hair tied back, green eyes that once sparkled but now seemed shadowed. She'd worked at the Rusty Mug for 5 years, ever since marrying Tom, the town's deputy sheriff. To outsiders, Tom was charming, a pillar of the community. But behind closed doors, he was a monster. His temper flared over nothing, a burnt dinner, a late shift, and his fists followed. Sarah hid the bruises with long sleeves and makeup, smiling through the pain because leaving seemed impossible. Tom had the law on his side, or so he reminded her constantly. That morning, Sarah approached the booth where Jax and his crew had settled. The other patrons stiffened, conversations dropping to murmurs. "What can I get you folks?" she asked, voice steady despite her racing heart. Bikers like these made her nervous, they reminded her too much of uncontrolled anger. Jax looked up from the menu, his piercing blue eyes meeting hers. As she poured coffee, her sleeve rode up slightly, revealing a fresh purple bruise on her forearm, finger marks, unmistakable. Then, when she turned to grab creamer, a glimpse of yellowing marks on her neck peeked from under her collar. Jax froze, his hand tightening around the mug. He'd seen those kinds of marks before, on his own mother, years ago, before his dad drank himself to death after one too many accidents. The gang ordered eggs, bacon, pancakes, nothing fancy. But Jax watched Sarah closely as she served. She flinched when a plate clattered too loudly, apologized profusely for minor delays. Something twisted in his gut. He knew abuse when he saw it. His club had a code about protecting the vulnerable, especially women and kids. They'd stepped in before for strangers in bad spots, but never in Oak Ridge, where they were the outsiders. As they ate, Tom walked in, uniform crisp, badge gleaming. He spotted Sarah immediately and sauntered over, a possessive hand on her shoulder that made her tense. "Working hard, honey," he said loudly, for the room to hear. Then, lower, "You better not be flirting with these scum." Sarah paled, mumbling assurances. Jax's crew exchanged glances, they heard it all. Tom noticed the bikers then, smirking. "Keep it moving, boys. This is a respectable place." Jax stood slowly, all 6'4" of him, the booth creaking. The diner went silent. What happened next would change everything. Jax towered over Tom, his voice low and gravelly. "Problem, officer." The word dripped with sarcasm. Tom puffed up, hand hovering near his holster. "Mind your business, Harlan. This is between me and my wife." Sarah's eyes widened in panic, she begged Tom with a look to leave it. But Jax wasn't backing down. He'd promised himself long ago never to ignore what he'd seen as a kid. "Looks like your wife's got some explaining to do about those bruises," he said calmly, nodding toward Sarah's arm where the sleeve had slipped again. Gasps rippled through the diner. Tom flushed red. "That's none of your damn concern. She's clumsy, falls all the time." The Thunder Hawks rose as one, chairs scraping back. 12 leather-clad men formed a wall behind Jax, silent but imposing. The other customers froze, forks midway to mouths. Tom glanced around, realizing he was outnumbered and outgunned in presence, if not firepower. "You threatening an officer?" he blustered, but his voice cracked. Jax stepped closer. "No threat. Just a fact. You lay another hand on her, and you'll deal with us. All of us." His eyes bored into Tom's. "We know where you live. We ride these roads every day. Accidents happen." It wasn't a direct threat of violence, the club avoided that now, but the implication hung heavy. Tom backed toward the door, muttering about arrests and complaints, but he left without another word. The diner erupted in whispers as the door slammed. Sarah stood trembling, tears welling. "Why did you do that? He'll be furious later." Jack softened, surprising even his crew. "Because no one deserves that. Pack your things tonight. Come to our shop if you need a place. We'll make sure he doesn't come near you." He left $100 tip on the table, far more than the bill, and the gang filed out, engines roaring to life. Word spread like wildfire through Oak Ridge. By evening, the town was abuzz. The feared biker gang had stood up to the deputy, protected Sarah from her abuser. Some called it vigilante justice, others heroism. Tom tried filing complaints, but with no witnesses willing to back him, fear of the bikers mixed with quiet approval, it went nowhere. Sarah took Jax's offer that night, showing up at the Thunder Hawk's garage with a small bag. The club helped her file a real report, with evidence photos they'd insisted on, and connected her to a shelter. Tom was suspended pending investigation. Bruises don't lie forever. In the weeks that followed, the Thunder Hawks' image shifted. They organized a ride for domestic violence awareness, raising thousands for local shelters. Jax visited Sarah often, not romantically at first, but to check in. She healed, found a new job, and eventually smiled genuinely again. The town that once crossed the street to avoid the bikers now nodded respectfully. Jax Harlan, the rough gang leader, had shown that under the leather and ink beat a heart fierce in protection. What shocked Oak Ridge most wasn't the confrontation, it was the quiet kindness that followed, proving monsters aren't always who you think.